where everyone was all juiced up when it was announced we'd get Chiefs and Cowboys for Thanksgiving. Both teams in the early days of training camp continue to tread through that July calendar. Super Bowl odds continue to be short for the Chiefs. The Cowboys, though, are long shots to win another Lombardi. But the big news out of Oxnard, Jerry Jones talking about his star pass rusher, Micah Parsons.
Just because we signed him doesn't mean we're going to have him. He was hurt 6 games last year. Seriously. We've signed, I remember signing a player for the highest paid at the position in the league, and he got knocked out 2/3 of the year, Dak Prescott. So there's a lot of things you can think about when you, just as the player does, when you're thinking about committing and guaranteeing money.
All right, let's talk Cowboys and Chiefs with Lige Douzable and Tyler Sullivan. I do believe, guys, Micah Parsons only missed 4 games last year, not the 6. But, Dooz, I'm going to give you first word. What'd you make of Jerry Jones's comments today?
So much for the Cowboys working in silence. I was actually proud of them this offseason, Tommy. There wasn't a lot of hoopla behind them. Brian Schottenheimer had a lot of energy going in OTAs and minicamp. And Jerry Jones just takes the flamethrower to everything that happened this offseason by alienating the best player on their defense. And to your point, it wasn't 6 games. Micah Parsons only missed 4. But you know what he did have, Tommy? He still had 12 sacks. Matter of fact, him and Reggie White are the only players in NFL history for 4 consecutive seasons to start their career with 12-plus sacks to start their career. So he's done something only the great Reggie White has done. So I hear you talking about you just gave Dak Prescott a big deal and he missed multiple games. But to me, it seems like you haven't learned your lessons because you dragged your foot with Dak Prescott. You dragged your foot with CeeDee Lamb. And the price tag only went up. TJ Watt is turning 31 years old. He just got a deal getting an average of $41 million per year. Micah Parsons is only 26 years old. What do you think he's going to command? So keep playing around, Jerry, talking about you don't talk to agents and alienate your players. At the end of the day, you're going to have to write a bigger check.
Wasn't all that long ago, Max Crosby, who's now 4th, was resetting the market. Sully, when we take a look at what Dooz was talking about here, are we surprised that this is still being strung along the way that Jerry Jones and the Cowboys have been doing business over the last handful of years?
No, how can we be surprised by this? Because it's the Dallas Cowboys. It's Jerry Jones. This is just kind of what they do. Now, it's not the right thing to do. It's not the best practice for a football team, but it kind of is par for the course with Jerry Jones, and you're kind of seeing the latest example here today. And, Dooz, you hit upon it really nicely here, is the fact that you're talking about Micah Parsons not only as one of the highest paid defensive players in the NFL, but we're talking about him eventually becoming the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. So we're seeing like Jamar Chase setting the market. That impacts Micah Parsons. We see TJ Watt setting the market. That impacts Micah Parsons. So now we're talking about, what did he miss 6 games? Did he miss 4 games? The number that I'm looking at is $41 million in average annual salary that TJ Watt is going to be making. That's the number that Micah Parsons is looking at to look to exceed in his next contract extension. And there's still another shoe that could drop here. We still have a situation in Cincinnati where Trey Hendrickson is looking for a contract extension. He just led the league in 17.5 sacks last season. If he comes out of the woodwork and gets a contract that makes him the highest paid defensive player, which would then go over TJ Watt, the price continues to go up for Micah Parsons and Jerry Jones. So this thing should have been taken care of a long time ago. And as you guys alluded to, it's only costing Jerry Jones more money.
We'll get to Hendrickson in just a second here. Dooz, just for you, questions of the offseason, questions at camp for the Cowboys. What are they?
To me, you have to go to the secondary, more specifically the cornerback position. Trayvon Diggs had a knee injury last year. Looks like he could potentially miss some games early on in the season. Suvon Revel is a guy that dropped to them in the 3rd round with first-round talent because he's coming off an ACL. And it seemed like they were excited and there was a chance he could be ready for camp. And now I'm hearing he may not be ready for training camp. And you see it right there. He's going to begin training camp on the pup. So now you're talking about lack of subsequent depth on that defensive backfield, more specifically the cornerback position. Yes, you have Deron Bland, who has the ability to play in the slot as well. But now you're looking at guys like Kyer Elam, C.J. Goodwin, Kalen Carlson. You don't have a lot of depth at that cornerback position. So to me, which one of those guys is going to step up? Say Suvon Revel and Trayvon Diggs both aren't ready to start the season. Could a guy like Kyer Elam in a new place, right, starting over new, could he step up on the outside? Only time will tell, but that's the one concerning question. The main concerning question I have for the Dallas Cowboys is that cornerback position.
All right, let's get to the Kansas City Chiefs. Tyler, what questions do you have for KC?
Yeah, my question is, have they resolved their offensive line issues, specifically on the left side? The key issue for the Kansas City Chiefs, for them not three-peating, being the first team to ever win 3 Super Bowls, their clear speed bump along that path to history was they could not protect Patrick Mahomes. He was sacked 36 times during the regular season, the most of any time throughout his career, 11 times in the postseason, the most of any playoff run in his career. Of course, we know 6 of those sacks came in the Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles. They could not protect who is the best quarterback, the GOAT of this generation, and it stopped them from hoisting another Lombardi trophy. So this offseason, they go into the NFL draft, they spend a first-round pick on Josh Simmons, they bring in Jalen Moore in free agency to try to fix that left tackle spot. But I still think that there's questions along the left guard spot, too. You traded Joe Thuney, who was your left tackle, left guard for them for the past few years. There's a lot of questions here. How are they going to solidify that line, keep Patrick Mahomes upright? Because if they can, we all know this, they can go win Super Bowls. But if he's under siege throughout the season in a division where there's a lot of tough pass rushers, they could run into some problems.
Yeah, Brett Veach has been busy. We saw one of the constants there, Trey Smith, the guard, get upped, and then George Karlaftis got re-upped as well. And so let's get to that Trey Hendrickson topic, though, guys, because I want to get both of your guys' take here. Mike Brown talking about his star pass rusher who's looking for more money.
It has been a long negotiation. Trey Henderson is a fine player. He's a good guy. We want him here. Dealing with him is sometimes not so easy. That's all right. He's got the right to argue his case. We'll try to make sense of it from our perspective. And we'll see. I'm not persuaded that it isn't going to get done. As far as I'm concerned, the sooner the better.
Straight from the Bengals owner himself, Deuce, what do we think?
This is all about precedence, right? And I say that, Tommy, because when you look at it, to me, Trey Hendrickson gained some leverage with the T.J. Watt deal. They're going to be the same age. Actually, T.J. Watt's a few months older than him, and there's no player in NFL the last 2 years that has more sacks than Trey Hendrickson. But then you also go to the precedent of them changing the language in Shamar Stewart's contract, right? And that's why he's not currently with the team. That's why he didn't report with rookies. And you see the most sacks since 2020, Trey Hendrickson third on that list. Tommy, this was an abysmal defense last year. And they set a precedence on paying their offensive players. You see that Joe Burrow got his 2 receivers back in T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. But that doesn't fix the woes on defense. I mean, my mama used to tell me all the time, Tommy, a hard head make a soft behind. And ignorance is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That's exactly what the Bengals are doing here, because they're putting a precedence on offense, but yet their defense is abysmal. And to me, if you're going to be in shootout-type games, why not get one of the best closers in all of football under contract in Trey Hendrickson? There's clearly a clear market for him. And just like Jerry Jones, because the Bengals have drugged their feet, the market is only going up for Trey Hendrickson, because if T.J. Watt can ask for $41 million per year, Trey Hendrickson surely can ask for that as well, because, again, nobody has more sacks over the last 2 years. And this is my last point right here. Do you know the Bengals average scoring 27 points a game? But you know in losses that the Bengals still average scoring 27 points a game? So in their losses, their offense was still putting up nearly 30 points a game. And yet they were still losing. You see it right there. most points per game in losses in NFL history. They own the number one spot because of how bad that defense was. And now potentially your two top starting defensive ends will not be in training camp because of contract disputes. Again, ignorance is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. How did that work out for you last year, Cincinnati Bengals? You didn't make the playoffs.
Just under 2 minutes left here, Sully. Final word.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest second guesses of the offseason will be, if this Trey Hendrickson thing falls through and he is no longer a Cincinnati Bengal, is picking T. Higgins over Trey Hendrickson because of everything that you just said, Deuce. Defense wins championships, and the Cincinnati Bengals, make no mistake about it, because they have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, should be in a Super Bowl window. But right now, we can't even talk about them being in the Super Bowl conversation because they struggle to make the playoffs because of this defense. And you guys just really touched upon it, but I'll go into it a little bit deeper. Last season, they had 2 losses where they scored 38 points. That was tied for the most in NFL history. They had 3 losses when they scored 34 points or more. 4 losses when they scored 33 or more points. They had 6 losses last season when they scored 25 or more points, tied for the most in NFL history. They cannot throw their way to victories. They need to be able to stop opposing offenses, and you're in a conference with Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. The road through the AFC is a stout defense. Right now, they don't have it.
They need to clip some of these things, get it in his representation, and put it in a PowerPoint to send it to Mike Brown, although he still may not